Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 61 of the All Dolphins podcast. This one dedicated to Tim
My
Ruddy.
house.
Tim Ruddy, center. He was a second-round pick in 1994, I want to say. Really, really smart guy. Good, solid center. Continued the long line of good centers the Dolphins had in their history with Hall of Famer Jim Langer, Hall of Famer Dwight Stevenson, afterwards Mike Pouncey. Fun quick story about Tim Ruddy. One time he was talking to the media. It was a guy who didn't necessarily like talking to the media, and there was a little gaggle around him, and at one point he's talking about the schematic advantage of this particular formation or whatever, and then there was a reporter, television reporter, who chimed in with schematic. Is that even a word? And Tim Ruddy looked at him like with a kind of a look like, are you kidding me, dude? Tim Ruddy, by the way, who studied something like space engineering at Notre Dame or something, who had twice the IQ of most guys in that locker room, and certainly of that reporter who went on to work at ESPN, whose name I shall not reveal to protect the innocent. But anyway, that's my little Tim Ruddy story.
There's a very short list of guys who covered the Dolphins who went on to work for ESPN. So anyway,
Okay.
and Pouncey was actually 51, not 61.
Oh, I wasn't talking about, I was talking about the long line of good centers. I know Pouncey was 51. Because Dwight was 57, Jim Langer was 62, as I recall. So no, it wasn't because he was 61. Pouncey was 51.
I thought he was 61, but obviously I don't pay attention to numbers like you do. But yes,
I'm a
continue with the
numerologist.
Rain Man of numbers game. 62 is going to be a challenge for you, though.
It might be, and not only, well, I just mentioned Jim Langer, so he'd be pretty low hanging fruit. Yeah, I'm a numerologist to the point where it annoys me that Chris Brooks is still wearing 33. Were they white today? And Eli Apple is wearing 33 aqua. It's like, dudes, can you get your own numbers already? The 53 set.
I think Eli Apple said that Brooks can have it. Eli's going to get another number. I heard that on the grapevine. I don't know or care enough to double check or verify it. Unfortunately, let's get into the news of the day, which obviously, if you've checked alldolphins.com, you see that, or any other website. We prefer alldolphins.com. Tyreek Hill is not going to be facing any suspension. He obviously has been resolved his dispute with the marina employee. The NFL does not see grounds for any suspension or fine. I don't know if that was mentioned in the language, but I don't think it was. There will be no punishment, so that means no fine. How do you obviously, if you're a Dolphin fan, you gotta love this, but does this mean that Tyreek is on super secret probation
in terms of the league? Oh, absolutely. And keep in mind that the league cannot use incidents that happen before players get into the NFL as grounds for punishment itself. It can be used if another situation occurs. And as I'm sure Dolphin fans know, Tyreek Hill has some stuff in his background from college. So this was, and that was the only reason why I think any of us thought that maybe a suspension could happen. I think all of us probably felt it was on the lower side of 50-50. But to say that it was a slam dunk that there would be no suspension, I think that would be a stretch. And interestingly, with Tyreek Hill, he was not at practice
the last 2 days.
The last 2 days for what was called an excused absence.
But I saw him in the locker room today.
Omar saw him in the locker room. Is it possible that he went to New York yesterday to talk with league officials, and then because the word came out today that it happened? Is it that possible? Sure.
I heard that it wasn't, but I don't know what to believe, or whether the person who said that it wasn't is in the know or connected. At this point, who cares? Tyreek is not being punished. I think that's the most important thing. So he'll be available and ready for the 17 game season.
Which obviously is good news. The other big news of the day, I think, would have to be, and I know you love this. I know you love this. Come on, show me the big smile. Alec Ingold, 3-year contract extension. Is he your biggest man crush? I know he's one of your man crushes on this Dolphin team.
Probably. I haven't really accounted for my man crushes, but I will say, and as I've said on this podcast for however many episodes, I have a newfound respect for him based on what I've seen him do this year in training camp in terms of the flexibility. The key is like a Swiss Army knife, and I think you fans will get an opportunity to see it a little bit more because we watched it in practice, and I was just like, oh, ooh, interesting. Oh, okay, wow, okay, he could do that too. All right,
I can attest to that. Yes.
yeah, and when you and just watching him in that many different roles, and you see him in comes in the backfield. Basically, he's going to be a difficult player for a defensive coordinator to kind of, what do I put on the field for him? Do I put a safety on the field for him? Do I put a linebacker on the field for him? Because technically, if he's on the field, then you need your Sam linebacker. Or if you're, let's say, the Miami Dolphins, you're going to have to cover him with either a safety that you're going to bring up into the box or one of your outside linebackers who now cannot rush. And Ingold has the capabilities and ability to do so many different things. So, and he delivers crushing blocks, just crushing blocks. And with a lot of these plays and schemes, and he can line up in line as a tight end. And he's a move player. He's a flex. He's an H-back. He's a fullback. He's a short yardage runner. He's an outlet pass guy. Ooh, I think he's going to have an amazing season, and I'm happy that he signed. The money doesn't look too ridiculous, based on what Marcel is reporting. $4 million a year is really the scope of what that deal is. Can't find my phone right now to look at the full details, but the one important thing that it should be pointed out to Dolphin fans in regards to what these contract extensions that are not the massive deals help you do is, now that the Dolphins have Zach Sealer signed and Alec Ingold signed to an extension, now when it comes to next year, they can restructure those deals and put a little bit more down on the credit card deposit and buy some cap relief, whereas you're paying off Alec Ingold and Zach Sealer's full year salary next year, and then pushing their cap number down even further, and then minimizing their salaries to the NFL minimum or close to it, and their signing bonus. So these kind of deals help you create cap flexibility, and it'll be interesting to see who's next, because we might have another next. Now, does this prevent you from doing Christian Wilkins? No, it doesn't, because Christian Wilkins' cap number this year will more than likely go down when he gets a ridiculous $12 to $15 million signing bonus. It's going to go down. So none of these deals are preventing you from doing a deal with Christian Wilkins. But as Chris Greer basically said, and I think it's a bluff, but we'll see whether or not it's true or not, we're going to kick the can to next year and start to revisit it, because nothing about Christian's situation is any different than Alec Ingold's situation or Zach Sealer's situation. Getting a deal done right now before next Wednesday is not going to be a distraction for the season, correct?
Sure. The point I want to make with the Ingold extension from my end, and you covered it very, very well. I don't have to add a whole lot, but what I do want to say is, based on the reports, he's going to become the second highest paid fullback in the NFL, behind Kyle Juszczyk, who plays for who? The San Francisco 49ers, whose former offensive coordinator was who? Mike McDaniel. Which brought me to ask Alec Ingold at his press conference today, is like, when did you realize how much Mike McDaniel loves him some fullbacks in his offense? And the thing with Ingold that's interesting is, he only became available to the Dolphins because he played for the Raiders for 3 years, tore his ACL, did actually really good work for the Raiders, a very good player. But then Josh McDaniels takes over as head coach. He does want to have a fullback, but he wants his guy from New England. So they declined. Ingold was becoming a restricted free agent. They declined to extend a qualifying offer. That made him a free agent. They brought in their guy from New England, Jacob Johnson. Dolphins go ahead and sign Ingold, and he started behind the A-ball with the Dolphins because he was recuperating from an ACL. And to show you how tough he is, he played every single game last year, and that's despite having thumb surgery in the week before the New England game, or between the New England game and the Buffalo game at the end of the year, or sorry, New England or the Jets, or the week before that. He literally had thumb surgery like on a Monday and played that Sunday. So obviously he's tough in addition to being versatile, in addition to being a good locker room guy. So good move all the way around. Have to like it. And he's not, I don't necessarily have a man crush on him, but I like Alec Ingold a lot and completely love this move. Other roster moves.
So it's a 3-year extension for $12.2 million, which breaks it down to $4 million a year. And there's $500,000 in incentives. Usually those are per game roster bonuses, which break down for 17 games. So $6 million of it is guaranteed. So basically they extended him, paid his salary for next year, and then a $2 million, probably the signing bonus. It's easier to tell the deal if you know what the signing bonus is, and this does not basically tell me what the signing bonus is, but it's in the neighborhood of the Durham Smythe extension. So props to him.
And again, another good player to have. The numbers I saw was up to 17-2, and you and I both know that up to that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get there, but that's what I saw. Other roster moves today, and again, the molding of the 53-man roster could go until next Saturday. That's sometimes how long it extends, and there were some more moves today. As expected, the Dolphins put on injured reserve cornerback Jalen Ramsey, offensive lineman Robert Jones, and as not expected, running back Jeff Wilson Jr. They brought back, as had been reported Wednesday, tight end Tyler Kroft, cornerback Parry Nickerson, and then today they also brought back, this one's a little bit of a surprise to me, only because of that nasty knee brace we saw him wearing, and that's cornerback Justin Bethel. And that move, I know you love that move because that to me is a lot more about special teams than it is about the secondary.
Yeah. It's a, I don't know how healthy he's going to be, but this is a guy who's 12 years in the league as a gunner. And as I continue to tell people, even though Joe called it out in the media when we were talking to a new cornerback, what's his name? Kelvin Joseph. He said, I'm obsessed with gunners, and I'm kind of obsessed with gunners. They're a very important position. They are the heart and the meat and potatoes of your special teams unit. And, you need good gunners. That's just the bottom line. Otherwise, you're going to allow a whole lot of returns. So,
you mean like last year? I'm sorry. What? Whoops. Did I say that out loud? Sorry.
I think that it's going to be a good opportunity for a lot of guys who are in the fringe of the NFL, like a Kelvin Joseph, to cement themselves as NFL players. And you can be in the league for 12 years, like Justin Bethel, if you get that job done. But nobody wants to hear about gunners. What they want to hear about is the running back who suffered what appears to be a pretty serious injury. We knew about a finger, but now there is a abdomen.
We knew about the midsection because Mike McDaniel told us about it when he did the Zoom on Sunday. What we didn't know was that it was significant enough to land him on injured reserve.
Yeah.
And then now, and Devon Achane, based on what Mike McDaniel said today, should be ready to go for week 1. So it's not going to be Raheem Mostert, Savon Ahmed, Devon Achane, and my guy Chris Brooks.
Oh, damn. You just taking ownership, huh? You have like Chris Brooks since OTAs.
Correct. I called him out.
I sell it out.
Okay. I happen to think they're okay. I don't necessarily think I like Jeff Wilson as a running back. I don't necessarily think there's a huge difference between Jeff Wilson and then the other guys. I think Raheem Mostert clearly the number 1 guy. I don't.
Okay. Any other guy like who? Name that guy.
Like any of them. Based on what they're going to be asked to do. Okay, is Devon Achane going to be asked to pound the ball 15 times between the tackles? No. But if you split some carries, and Chris Brooks could be that guy.
Mm-hmm. So how do you see this shared backfield, equal responsibility duties panning out? How in your world do you envision this backfield working for the next month, which is how long that you're going to have to make it work?
Oh, at the very least, because McDaniel made a comment about saying something like What was it? There's a chance he'll return this season. And I was like, whoa. I mean, that's a little bit ominous. During Wilson's absence, I would expect Mostert to get the bulk of the work. I don't think it's going to be 80%, but at least 55, 60%. And then the rest is going to be split, I would think, fairly evenly with A-Chain, Ahmed, and Brooks. I do think Brooks gets in there because Brooks brings an element they don't have. I know Mostert gained 10 pounds in the offseason. He's up to 215, or is what he said yesterday, even though the roster still has him at 205. But those actually...
Come on, you know that roster is never accurate.
No, but, well, here's the thing, though. They adjusted also the week of the regular season. You're going to see some weights differ. So don't be surprised if Mostert actually does go to 215 on the roster next week. But I still think Brooks is your physical guy when that plays. Okay. There is some duplication with Ahmed and A-Chain. So I think that may cut... Okay, there's a lot of duplication. That may cut in the playing time of one or the other.
Okay, so who is your third down back, though? Who's coming onto the field in third down? Are you, and this is what I was thinking and sort of trying to calculate in my mind in the alldolphins.com piece that I wrote earlier today. Okay, Raheem starts the game. But obviously, in my mind, Raheem is my third down back because my pass protection from A-Chain and Savon, not that great. Pass protection needs to be an important thing that you do as a third down back. So now I gotta pencil in Raheem as my third down back, and then I have Chris Brooks as maybe my short yardage back, even though Alec Ingold can handle that role too, because Ingold's the man. Here's my question to you. How do we divvy up? Okay, first series goes to Raheem. Then who handles first and second down of the next series and the next series? And on top of that, how do you figure out like who's the lead back in that role? Because right now we got to find roles for Devon and the rookie draft pick. He says he understands the offense and he feels very comfortable and immersed in it. He said it basically was like speaking Spanish when he first got here. Now he's fluent. And then you got Savon, who had arguably the best preseason as a running back that I've ever seen in my 15 years.
Whoa.
Okay. I said as a running back, preseason.
Okay, I heard what you said, but it's like, man, talk about living in the moment.
Hold on. 8.9 yards a carry? Come on.
65-yard run. I mean, that's...
Okay, it wasn't just a 65. Let's take the 65-yard run out of this. And so I go ahead. You continue to talk while I do some math here.
No, he had two long runs. He had a 65-yarder and a 42-yarder.
Okay, so if a guy delivers two long runs in 2 of 3 games, you just want to poo-poo it out of the equation, huh?
I don't want to poop it. No, I don't want to do that. Yeah, but that's, I mean, no, he was very good. I'm not going to poo-poo it. He was very, very good.
Okay, you're a historian. Give me a better back in the pre. He would average 5.1 yards per carry without the 50.
I'd have to 65-yard run. Off the top of my head, I can't. Off the top of my head, I'll give it to you. Here's the thing: is because there's duplication with A-Chain and Ahmed, is it possible? And I don't think neither of them are a major factor on special teams unless it's on kickoff returns. Would it be that surprising if one of those wound up inactive on a weekly basis, and then you have Mostert's up, Brooks is up as your short yardage guy, and then one or the other?
That's a very good call. It would really, to me, come down to special teams role, and I know they've worked Devon Chain as a gunner. Not to say that he's gonna actually do it, but I've seen him in there. I've seen them working now, and he's also a return guy. So if you're going to make Raheem a featured for the first couple of games, don't you have to find a returner?
Well, Braxton Barrows is your returner.
So your kickoff returner, Braxton now becomes your kickoff returner.
He's done it before, and your punt returner. He's done it before. So yeah, I could see a case where either Ahmed or A-Chain is inactive, and then the other two are in the lineup.
So in your mind, Brooks is absolutely active.
I think he should be because, again, he brings the physicality that you don't have anybody else. I mean,
he's also the backup fullback.
Correct. And how many times did we see him break tackles in the preseason? The dude was hard to bring down. So yeah, I absolutely can see that. One quick point I did, so we're backtracking here. One quick point I want to make about the roster moves. They now have 12 DBs on the roster. And I get that some of them are, well, you say, and I get that some of them are going to contribute mostly on special teams. That's
Two
enough.
of them are hurt, bro. Three of them are hurt.
Correct.
I could probably keep counting.
I know, but I'm looking ahead to when everybody's healthy. That's something's going to give that, and then some of those guys are not going to be here for the whole season. You don't go through an entire season with 12 DBs on the active roster. That's just unheard of. There's no rule against it, by the way, but it's, again, I've never seen it.
Listen, special teams, and the majority of them are here because of special teams. But I will say this, and this is something that we probably, Terrell Williams not re-signed to practice.
Not even to the practice squad. Yeah, no, I'm weirded out by that.
Not just him, but Mitchell Agude, Aubrey Miller, and hey, I found something that Mike McDaniel said in today's press conference is basically it's a production-based business, and we value and view you've earned what you get based on production that you put out. Which is, he was explaining to Julian Hill over Elijah Higgins, and supposedly I read somewhere, I don't know if it's accurate or not, but Elijah Higgins was claimed by 5 teams. And to my response to that is, I shrugged my shoulders for those who are listening. I completely agree. Yeah, and he might very well become a decent NFL player, a solid tight end. If most teams probably might want to play him as a wide receiver. Exactly.
Bingo.
Dolphins, it just didn't work out. It just didn't it didn't look right. And Julian Hill looked like a decent tight end. Looked like if he was the draft pick, you would have been investing in him. So I don't, Dolphin fans are always up in arms about the guy who gets cut and then gets claimed. As I said 20 times on this podcast, I couldn't care less who got claimed. Yes, I'm a little disappointed that they are not adding better players to the team. But in fairness to the Dolphins, I scoured that waiver wire on Wednesday morning, and there was very little that I wanted. There was could they upgrade a tight end? Absolutely. Do I think they should add another quarterback? Yes, I do. But it's fine. It's okay. They got 5 or 6 spots still available. There are 11. They got 5 spots still available on practice squad. How they fill those out, I have absolutely no idea. But there are probably about 700 NFL players right now out there looking for work. Mm-hmm. And yeah, plenty of opportunity to go find something that can help you.
No question. Yeah, it's the ESPN reporter who had the nugget about Higgins being claimed by 5 teams, which is the most of any player. And he also, I don't know if it was a Freudian slip or what, but he mentioned him as a Cardinals wide receiver. And I believe
he was yeah.
Well, no, Cardinals, not Cardinal from Stanford, which is where he played. So he went from Cardinal to Cardinals. But I believe when the Cardinals announced the move, it was as a tight end. And personally, I didn't see anything that said future NFL impact player contributor as a tight end. To me, my guess is they're going back to, we like what we saw of him as a wide receiver at Stanford. That's where we're going to go. And I can tell you there was a lot of discussion in the media room before practice today about the 2 draft picks that got claimed, because Ryan Hayes got claimed by the Colts. And I'm like, and then I go back to Curtis Weaver, 2020, waived injured. And I had done research, and I may have to repurpose it on alldolphins.com, of draft picks who failed to make the 53-man roster as rookies for the Dolphins and what happened to them after they left. And there's practically nobody who ever had what you would call a successful NFL career. So
nobody even worth mentioning.
Don't sweat it that 2 of the 4 draft picks are gone, that they got claimed by somebody else, and that the Dolphins couldn't bring them back, and that magically they were going to become studs after some grooming on the practice squad.
Oh, darn it.
Is that to say that that neither of them is going to pan out? No, we're not saying that. We're just saying that the odds and history tell us that probably not very likely.
If you practice for 2 months, learn the playbook for 2 months, go out there and play in exhibition games and joint practices, and don't impress your team, while others, particularly Julian Hill, do impress your team. We were mentioning Julian Hill, and I was like, oh, okay. And then, for instance, Chris Brooks, man, Chris Brooks had that 95-yard touchdown run, and I immediately was like, top performer. Like I wasn't even going to let Bradley Chubb take a lot of that, take his shine away.
Then that's when you learned his name. Be honest.
Yes, absolutely. Took me one day to learn his name, and to your credit, I remember we were talking. He was requested by the media. I didn't talk to him, but I oftentimes like to size up players, especially when they don't have their pads, and look at them and see what their body looks like. Don't take it any weird way, but I evaluate bodies for a living. This is part of what I do. Do you not evaluate bodies for a living?
Butts in particular.
Yeah, I evaluate bodies, butts, hind parts, quads, calves, triceps, abdomens, like size, ankles. I love ankles. Ankles tell you a lot. Ankles tell you how big a guy's meant to be, or how big a woman's meant to be. Listen, and Chris Brooks, that boy was big. I was like, damn, he was Ronnie Brown big. And I said, oh, okay, I can see it now. And I was a little bit surprised for the story that I wrote on alldolphins.com. I know he transferred to BYU for his final season and had a respectable, decent year, probably as a transfer player. But at Cal, he had some decent numbers. He ran for 2,700 yards in 5 seasons. Not to say that that's, dynamic, but it's not chopped liver. And I really had the impression, and maybe this is because I didn't do my homework on undrafted players, as I never do my homework on undrafted players.
Shame.
Like, when you make plays, I'll learn your name and probably look you up. And I looked him up, and he had 800 yards at BYU, and I was like, okay. But then I looked up his career at Cal, and I was just like, oh, this dude was actually a runner. He just probably got displaced by some sensational rookie that coaches promised or paid $100 million in an NIL deal.
Okay.
Man. I mean, that's college football now.
No, I know. I hear you. No, I do the same thing. I check out guys, how they look. And in the off season, I don't necessarily pay a ton of it. Well, no, I do pay attention, but what I focus on is, does the guy look the part? Mm-hmm. What's his size? How well does he move?
Yes.
And this is what stood out to me, that Brooks is a big dude and he couldn't move. He was fluid. And when they throw him balls, is he fighting the ball? Yes. Like Jared Dokes, remember the 7th round pick from Cincinnati a couple of years ago? Even in the offseason program, they would throw him short passes. He was fighting the ball every time. And I'm like, oh my God. Zaquandre White from rookie free agent from South Carolina last year, that a whole bunch of Dolphin fans on social media were like,
and media members, I'm raising my hand.
Oh, Dolphins got a steal there. That guy can play. And I'm looking at him, it's like, I just don't see it. And so for Brooks, that's what stood out to me. And then Ryan Hayes also, I looked at him in the offseason, does not look like an NFL offensive lineman.
Nope.
He doesn't look, I mean, he's
big,
tall and all that, but he doesn't look overly athletic. He doesn't look overly strong. And again, maybe he'll pan out, maybe he won't, but just don't.
I mean, we're on Isaiah Prince and Larnell Coleman. I the time you get a late round offensive, by that time in the late rounds, like you're just hoping and praying on a dream.
Yeah, I want to caution fans though about Julian Hill, because I know he's kind of the unknown. And I'm the one, I asked a question to Mike McDaniel, what was it about him that made you choose him over Elijah Higgins, for example? And this is where he made the point of, like, it was based on production, not draft status and all that. And he outperformed Higgins basically, while it was a close competition and Higgins did everything. Well, this is what a coach is going to say about a player who's not gone. It's called showing some respect, because either one of two things. Either he's being very, very nice to Higgins on his way out, or if he thinks it legitimately was a close competition, then I would really temper expectations for Julian Hill. Because again, Elijah Higgins didn't really look like somebody who's going to have an impact career as a tight end. And I would expect Julian Hill, even though it does look like there's something there. There's something to groom and develop early on, at the very least. Expect him to be clearly the number 3 guy behind Durham Smythe and Tyler Croft.
I will say this, and I don't want to get all obsessed about the undrafted guys who made the team either as a practice squad player or as a 53-man member. There was something there about all of them that made you say, could this be? Could it possibly be? And I honestly felt that way about Ari Miller and Mitchell Gude, but it didn't happen here for them. This is a situation where Brandon Peely, Julian Hill, and Chris Brooks, they earned it. And I'm all about guys earning what you get. And the draft picks did not earn it. They didn't. Some of them didn't.
No, correct. The late round draft picks. And again, they're late round draft picks. You hit on those. That's awesome. Great. If you're counting on a bunch of 6th and 7th rounders, to carry your team, that becomes a problem. What else do we have going on today, Omar? I think
we had 2 practice squad additions.
Go ahead.
You're like, go ahead. A safety, Joshua Kalu, who spent the last 3 seasons with the Tennessee Titans. This guy has got 711 special team snaps. Put that in your calculator. So you know exactly what this team is looking for. You got James Tunstall, who blended in here, and a tailback named Darlton Evans, who is a former 3rd-round pick of the Tennessee Titans in 2020. This is a guy who's got little special teams value as a kickoff returner, but obviously the Dolphins are just filling up their practice squad roster. Still got 5 more to go. Go out and find yourself a center. Go out and find yourself more defensive line help, even though Deshaun Hand is on that unit and Randy Charlton is on that unit. But stays on practice squad are not permanent. It should also be pointed out for those who are always wondering, this question is often asked, the base minimum salary for practice squad player is $11,100. So that's what you get paid per week at the bottom, the basement.
Okay.
So and it can go up to $20,000 per week. So
for veterans, yeah. Also, as a reminder, practice squad rules. It's 16 players. You can elevate 2 every game. Player can only be elevated 3 times during the regular season, after which time you can no longer elevate him. You can sign him to the active roster if you want to, but you can't elevate him from the practice squad anymore. So those are the practice squad rules. The rule about protecting players from being poached from other teams during the week, that no longer applies. It stopped applying last year, I want to say.
I didn't know that. So you can just poach guys off people's practice.
You can poach guys.
If you do poach guy, for another team's practice squad, you have to keep them on the roster for a month, I believe.
I thought I saw 3 weeks, but it's around that neighborhood. But yes, you can't go practice squad to practice squad. You have to keep him on the active roster.
If you poach a guy, and the last poaching, I believe, and you will correct me, was Michael Thomas, and that
far along. I don't know. My initial reaction is to think it's happened since then, but he's definitely one.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's probably happened since then, but not anybody notable. But yeah, I'm a practice squad poacher. I do it. That's sometimes, or the guy that you cut to try to put on your practice squad, like a Zach Sealer. That's my thrift store shopping right there. And the roster's set. It's okay. I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you folks.
No depth conversation, please.
No depth conversations.
By the way,
we'll revisit my depth conversation in November. It's tabled.
Deal. As I recall, because we mentioned his name earlier, so I'm going to bring him up. Larnell Coleman, who was a 7th-round draft pick out of UMass. I think it was UMass. Was it UMass?
Yes, it was UMass.
Okay.
Look at you.
Who was very, very, very raw. If memory serves, he was poached from the Dolphins practice squad by the Carolina Panthers, who just recently released him. And that year they had somebody else poached as well. I think it might have been last year, actually. They had a couple of guys poached. I don't remember the other ones. Sorry. But definitely Darnell Coleman. And I do know the Dolphins have poached other players since Michael Thomas, who was poached from the 49ers and then played the role of hero that very first week here when he picked off. Who did he pick off in the end zone to clinch a win? Come on, Omar.
Tom Brady.
Very good, Tom Brady. 24-20 win in December against the Patriots.
He's just showing all of his Rain Man potential, Rain Man ability right now. That's all he's doing. He's just flexing his numbers.
I can't write. I don't know anything about football, but I have a very, very good memory, and I remember names and numbers and games and scores, stuff like that. So
yeah,
I play to my strength.
You disappointed me not being able to correct me on on the last practice squad player poached. I'm disappointed in that.
I feel shame. I'll bow my head in shame.
And then I know it has to be somebody since then, because that was a long time ago.
And if you know me well enough, after we're done, I'm going to actually look it up, because I can't stand not this lingering here. That's how anal I am. And in the meantime, we're going to end on this note where
if I ever want Alan to look something up, I'll just throw out something incorrect and then he'll go look it up. I tell you my secrets now.
Oh, they're great. That's a major character flaw of mine. I can't help it. So now we're ending on this note. Thanks a lot, Omar.
You're gonna go look. You are gonna go look it up. I know you are.
So the Dolphins now have 3 days off before they resume practicing on Labor Day.
Yes.
Omar, we're gonna keep doing this, though, right?
Yeah, we are, because I like doing it. I like seeing you every day. We will do a Q&A special, and look forward to getting your questions on Twitter, and look for it and fire it off. And always my favorite part of these podcasts is answering your questions, which is an extension of when I used to do X's and Omar. That's the value for me, meeting and reaching out to the people. And speaking of reaching out to the people, you know how to find our work, alldolphins.com. It's what, Alan?
Free.
Yeah, and we encourage you to like, subscribe. We actually read all your comments. I know Alan does.
I do.
I get around to it as well, and respond in the chat on YouTube. You can find us on other podcast streaming sites with
Fans First Sports Network under Miami Dolphins Insider. And we better wrap this up before we get chopped off here. Until we meet again, thanks again.